Hey guys, if you like this content, I would greatly appreciate it if you guys like the video and subscribed to my channel. It helps make these videos worth it going forward. Hey guys, Altcoin Sherpa here with a video today on what is accumulation in the market. As always, this is not financial advice. I'm not a professional. Trading is risky. Do your own research. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about what accumulation is specifically for the bottom in crypto and what to look for. So to begin, what is accumulation? Accumulation is generally when price goes into a tight range and generally does not deviate from this range for a larger period of time. You can see accumulation occurring across all different types of, all different time frames. And typically speaking, the longer the accumulation range, the larger the expansion that follows. So here was the accumulation bottom of Bitcoin USD at the end of 2018 at the market bottom around $3,000. Firstly, we ask yourself, why is there accumulation patterns? Generally, it's because big players need to fill their bags or need to buy a specific asset without moving the market too much. So you'll see price just basically ping-ponging in a range, a tight range, and price is not really moving. And this is usually people filling their bags. Bigger players, they'll generally be buying in these situations, and when the time is right and they're ready to distribute, that's when price starts to move. Now, it's important to understand that accumulation bottoms generally don't start until there's a capitulation big move. So, for instance, here is the big move here. From the $6,000 floor that Bitcoin had in 2018. And obviously anybody that traded crypto in 2018, they thought it was a miserable experience, at least I did. So generally speaking, in order for price to start ranging, it needs to have this big capitulation, shakeout, big move before this happens. That's when you start to see a range form at the bottom. Now, it's also important to understand the context as well. I'll go into some other examples of accumulation periods in highly bullish assets, such as Theta. But for now, given this market structure context, and I do have a video on market structure, so check that out. It's basically, what is the market structure in terms of higher highs and higher lows? And in this context here of Bitcoin USD in 2018, the market structure was clearly bearish with lower highs and lower lows. And therefore, you needed to see one last shakeout, which we saw, before a large accumulation range. So as I said before, an accumulation range bottom is where price just ranges and does not move for a certain period of time, and when bigger players or whales or whatever you want to call them have an ample amount of whatever asset they want, that's when they start to distribute and expand. So what are some key signs of an accumulation bottom? Generally speaking, you want to look to see that price is in a tight range, and you can see this here where price basically did not move at all. It kept tapping this top of this range and it kept going back down to the bottom of the range. And what was interesting to see too was that you start to see, if you go down to lower time frames, you can start to see a lot more buy volume coming in. That's typically a sign of accumulation, where you'll see a lot of buy volume come in, and but price is not moving. That is generally an indication of accumulation. So, as I said before, the longer the accumulation period, the more explosive the expansion. As for this example, I mean, Bitcoin went from basically $3,000 all the way up to $14,000 in 2019. And this was a massive run. That was obviously really, really nice to see. So this is an example on BTC USD. BTC USD generally has these types of accumulation bottoms, and you can see them too in previous price history as well. The COVID crash in 2020 of March, this was a V-shaped reversal, and you typically don't see that as much. But let's also go into accumulation in a bullish market structure. You could see that, again, in the summer, price ranged here for many months. And this was bullish accumulation here. You could have argued that this might have been similar context to 2018, but given the way that price spiked down and gathered all this liquidity, I was fairly bullish in this area because I thought that price was just going to keep going higher after the way that price reversed in March. So we'll see more examples of accumulation in bullish market structure contexts, such as Theta later on. But here was another example of BTC USD accumulation during the summer. Move up, a little more accumulation. And every range isn't necessarily accumulation. It's important to understand that, and it's important to understand the market structure context. For instance, this right here, in my opinion, clearly showed that this was a bullish market structure at this point because this was the high and low and then higher high. This at this point when we hit $12,000, that confirmed a bullish market structure to me. So every range is not necessarily going to be accumulation. So for instance, this range here in 2018, this was not accumulation, given the context of the market structure. So it's important to understand that. Ethereum, ETHUSD, I don't remember. Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember why I had this chart. Okay, so here was another example of accumulation. As I said before, accumulation generally happens after a big move, either big move or a big bullish move or a big bearish move. And again, it depends on the context of the market structure. For instance, this Ethereum move, when it went from basically $50 to $400, this was obviously highly bullish in 2017, and I got in around $18, I think, something like that. And Ethereum basically ranged for several months, and this was an accumulation period from June all the way to the end of 2017, and then it had an expansion. And again, the context was that this is a bullish accumulation period where price is just cooling off, and then you see expansion after that. ZRX, here was an example of accumulation here. And again, you want to take context into consideration. The most important thing that you're thinking about when you're asking yourself if it's accumulation is what the market structure is it bullish or bearish? And the second one is, did it come after a big move? So after you see like a big move, say a big bullish move up, and you'll see accumulation again. And I personally think there's a difference between accumulation and a bull flag. I mean, in a way, they're similar in the sense that they're both pausing for a second, but bull flags, in my opinion, are more short-term observations where You see price bull flagging for anywhere from a few hours to a few days. Whereas I think of accumulation more as a longer term period that lasts over several days, weeks, or months. So in this example here for ZRX USD, you saw this accumulation period happen. Again, what's the market structure? The market structure is bearish. So you see a big move down. Again, this was the COVID dump in March of 2020. And then you see price ranging for several months from March to the beginning of May, and then you see expansion. So it's also important to understand too that if price is in a very bearish market structure, so you see, we'll go back to BTC USD. If price does look like this, like it does in 2018, where price is just making lower highs and lower lows, it's important to understand that these ranging periods aren't necessarily always going to be accumulation. It can be very dangerous in assuming that. Sometimes, as I said before, you really have to understand that if it's a bearish market structure, you want to see a big shakeout before the accumulation period happens. And if you don't see that big shakeout, then it's more likely just going to be a ranging period and then another drop, kind of like how you saw with the price action on BTC all throughout 2018. You just saw ranging, drop, ranging, drop, ranging, drop. And the drops were big, but they weren't the total shakeout like you saw at the end of that 6K floor falling out. So again, when thinking about accumulation, you want to look for you ask yourself what market structure is. 2, look for the big move in either direction. And if it's a bullish accumulation, then you're going to see something like this on Theta. Again, market structure bullish, clearly, right? You see these this extreme high, this huge parabolic move, and then you see a massive retracement. And after this period, market structure is still bullish, but again, this accumulation period happened after a big move, right? So after a big move, which is one of your things on your checklist, is you're looking for this accumulation period, which again happened for Theta, and the ensuing price action was basically big move up, another accumulation period, another big move up. And I expect price to just continue to do that until it decides to basically finish its run overall. But this is important to understand, this type of structure for altcoins generally, because specifically alt USD pairs, this is something that you'll see a lot in alt USD pairs. Generally, alt BTC pairs will generally have a V-shaped reversal, similar to YFI here. So you'll see YFI basically just have a big V-shaped reversal. And many altcoins are going to have this type of price action in general, because when they start to move, they really start to move hard. But until that time, they just keep dying. But the accumulation bottom is something to really think about when you are trading for several reasons. The first is that you have to ask yourself, is this actually accumulation, or is this just more going to be like Bitcoin in the 6Ks in 2018, given the market structure context? Secondly, you have to understand if you are trading accumulation coin, say like, you were to buy Bitcoin in the 3,000s or 4,000s, obviously this was a great buy. But you also have to understand that if you bought in November 2018 around $4,000, you could wait several months later, 4 months later, and price is still about the same price as that you had when you bought. And that's the important thing to understand when you do buy these accumulation bottoms, is that price can oftentimes take very long time to move. A always a good example of this is Dogecoin. Dogecoin basically just sits there for months on end. Like, look at this. I thought this was accumulation, but it clearly, well, I mean, you could still argue it was an accumulation because it did have an explosive move where it went up, you know, from 25 to 57, so it doubled in price. But there is an opportunity cost to trading these types of coins for altcoins. So if you are in a coin that is accumulating, or so you think, just understand that it could take days, weeks, or months before your coin starts to move. So if you're an active trader or an investor, that might not be a good strategy for you. If you are more patient and don't have a whole lot of time to chart and just want to buy some coins, there's absolutely nothing wrong with just buying a ranging coin. Just understand that it could take a long time for a coin to move. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video on accumulation bottoms. I did do another video on altcoin reversal patterns, so please check that out, where I do talk about the accumulation bottom a little bit more than that. Good luck.